Good morning, people. I know it's very early, and you know we we have to wait for 15 minutes because the session will be on 6:30. So yeah, we have to wait. And first of all, I'd like to thank uh, each and everyone for such an honor, for such support. You know, um, and we are you know trying to do something better, trying to reach at the global level, and maybe we're trying, very hard to get this. So today we're gonna be live with Rob Schmidt, the director of Wrong Turn. You know, Wrong Turn. When the movie came out, I was just it was back in 2003, which was pretty uh, dangerous that time. I used to get scared of it because it was so disturbing and so you know uh, as well as so fun. So I was like, maybe I should watch it, but you know the experience was pretty terrific. Um, so yeah, I mean, this could be a really great experience talking to the director of Wrong Turn itself. So it's no doubt, uh, it's a great thing to happen. So yeah, let's see what's gonna happen. And please, whoever is watching, whoever is, I know it's very early. It's it's very early morning. So whoever is watching and whoever gonna watch the film, please, you can leave a comment over there. You can ask anything, whatever you want. Um, so yeah, that's the thing. And please let me know if any problem, uh, you know you're facing while watching the videos on my channel. I'll try to you know uh, make it better. So that's the thing. The things. And also please, leave your comments on the video section, on the comment section, because that whoever you want to uh, watch on my live show, uh, any celebrity, any director, any actor, any writer, another artist. So leave a comment. Uh, Let me know whoever you want to watch, uh, because we're trying to, planning to bring more people, more global people on our show, uh, like the directors, writers, actors uh, around the world, so that the aspiring generation, the aspiring writers, directors, actors, um, filmmakers, and all the artists could learn from the live show. And it's actually my goal. It was actually my dream to do something uh, in a great way, in a very big way, so that people actually could learn from the masters itself themselves. You know, this kind of live session. If you go to America, if you go to other Western countries, this kind of live session, uh, you know, they charge huge chunk of money, uh, more than $500 or something. So it could be uh, your life changing experience, that you can directly interact with them, you can directly talk to the people, you can directly talk to the masters. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, I mean, let's see what's gonna happen. And in terms of, you know or the making, filmmaking, we're trying to bring more films, more short films, more web series, and other interactive contents. I don't mean contents. I mean it, whether it's film, whether it's short film, whether it's um, you know web series, because I don't call them contents. I don't like to call them contents, because content is like, it's like a product. You're making a specific product for specific customer. Filmmaking is not a product. Filmmaking is all about, it's art, it's craft. It's about telling a story. It's about telling your own story. you know so yeah, I don't call them, uh, in a new way. I can say that, but what we're trying to bring, that is a change. uh, like every time I make a movie, every time I do something, it has to be different, it has to be something original, in a way, so that people, whoever is watching, uh, you know they don't, get bored. They don't get, like, irritated by watching same thing again and again and again and again. you know and even, in terms of my own experience, I don't enjoy watching the same thing again and again. Even I don't enjoy making the same film again and again. So yeah, that's the thing. I try to do something new, something amazing every time. So yeah, so we have 7 more minutes to go. um Again, whoever is watching right now, if they don't know what's going to happen, we're going to be live with the director of Wrong Turn, Rob Smith. And he also directed some of the amazing films, such as Crime and Punishment in Suburbia, and The Alphabet Killer, and a lot of films. And let me tell you one information, that is, the year 2003, the movie Wrong Turn came out. It was uh, the legendary, writer Stephen King's favorite film of that year. So it's a really great thing. It's going to be a really great honor to talk to the director of, uh, you know Wrong Turn. So let's see what's going to happen. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so we have only 4 minutes left. So yeah, let's see. Mhm. And whoever is watching this, please, if you have any question, if you have any query, please leave a comment on the comment section. Um,
Hey,
Hello,
how are you, man?
good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah,
Good
thank
morning from
you. Oh, good
my
morning.
country.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good evening for me, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, what would you like to talk about? Do you figure?
Sorry.
What are you thinking you'd like to talk about, or you just want to see where it goes?
Yeah, I want to talk about you. I want
Oh,
to talk about your journey.
okay. Right on.
Yeah. So let me start it. So I always ask this to every guest that how was your journey? I mean, how did you start your journey?
Uh, you know, um, yeah, it's that's a really interesting question, and a thing that struck me. I have a very old friend who's a character actor, and he I say this in almost every interview because it's really stuck in my head. Is
Yeah.
he pretty much anytime I finish a job, movie or a TV episode or something, he calls me on the last day, and I answer the phone. I say, "Hey, Mike," and he says, "You'll never work again," and he hangs up the phone. Uh, and it's funny because like that crosses your mind, and
Yeah.
it took. I spent 20 years working and making a living and thinking I was never going to work again. And then I had this moment where I was like, I've been doing that for 20 years. How does that, S-
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, so in my case, unfortunately, I worried a lot, you know,
Okay.
that was not necessary to do. And
Yeah. So
yeah, no, you go.
yeah. So what was your, I mean, first film? I mean, when was the time you really, made your first film? It could be an amateur film.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you that I made a short film when I was in art school.
Yeah.
About my father who was dying, and
Okay.
it's it was received very well, and I was surprised by that. And it there was a standing ovation in the theater when it played, which I hadn't
Oh,
expected, and that was really when that was when I felt like I was a filmmaker, like I could do this and it would work.
yeah.
So that was my first film that I made that I knew functioned as a film.
Okay.
I made stuff when I was a kid. I made things, joke things in school and whatnot. And then that was really the
Yeah.
first time I made something and it worked by itself. Like if I didn't exist, the
Yeah.
movie existed and worked for people.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So when the movie, it was 2003, the Wrong Turn came out.
Yeah.
So how Wrong Turn, how did you become a part of Wrong Turn?
Yeah. That's a great question, an interesting question, and I let's see. I had done a Sundance movie called Crime and Punishment in Suburbia, and then I did a TV pilot for Fox. That was sort of it was kind of indie, sort of David Lynch surreal
Yeah.
thing that was all shot on video, and then I got Wrong Turn, and I had been excited about making a horror film, and I'd been meeting on different projects, and I I read that one, and what I thought was it was really simple but really clean.
Yeah.
It structurally it did everything it needed to do, and it was
Yeah.
sort of like I like Japanese food, so I think of it in terms of sashimi. You know, sashimi. There isn't really anything to it. It's just a sliced piece of fish. You know, raw
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah.
But if it's done perfectly, it's great. You know,
Yeah.
and that was the way I thought about that movie. That it was something that if you did everything right, it would work exactly the way it was supposed to work. Which is not to
Yeah.
diminish it. It's hard to make a script that
Yeah.
is simple and works. Uh, but that was, and the way I got on that movie, honestly, it was with three companies at the time, and they had gone through a lot of different directors. It met with a lot of different directors, and it was around Christmas break in Los Angeles, and
Okay.
so people are getting ready to go home and whatnot, and they couldn't all meet together with me. The
Okay.
three different companies, so they met with me each individually, and I did well in the individual meetings. And one of them afterwards said, I think you got hired because we didn't all meet with you as a group. And however it works, it worked out. But because they were all competing with each other, and if one
Yeah.
person yeah, and then they couldn't compete with each other because we were just, it was just me and one guy eating breakfast or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your thought about the sequels of Wrong Turn?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So Stan Winston and we had contracts to do the sequels,
Yeah.
and then the company Fox, at the time, they were making a lot of money from DVD, straight to DVD,
Yeah.
and our contracts were for a theatrical, the theatrical remake, the
Yeah.
theatrical sequel,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, we're not going to make a theatrical. We're going to make a DVD." Because they could make, at that time, they were making as much money off of DVDs as they were off of theatricals. So,
Yeah.
they did that instead, and it was at a lower budget, and we didn't do it. Stan Winston
Yeah.
was a producer on the project, um,
Yeah.
and people enjoy them. I don't.
Yeah.
They're not. it's funny because there's some really old, cheap horror that I like is it 2000 Maniacs? There's some really old stuff that is cool, and
Yeah.
it's really bad, but it's cool, and it has amazing moments in it. But the new stuff, like the Wrong Turn sequels, are not my cup of tea. Is the polite way.
Yeah.
But
That's the thing, I whenever I watch the first part and the sequels, I see some differences. Like, I mean, I really want to ask you that what are the really key elements that should be in a good horror film?
yeah, okay. So, well, uh, yeah, I'll tell you what my opinion is, and it's not
Yeah, yeah,
like there are plenty of films that do really well that don't meet this, but
yeah,
I think you need to I think you need to care about the characters, and
yeah,
in order to feel fear for them, and then you need to put them in life threatening situations where they have problems to solve, and watch them very closely, like very close to their faces, trying to
Yeah,
get through something that might kill them.
yeah,
So, but the center of that is the heart. It's caring about the person you're looking at.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the sequels don't so much do that.
Yeah, yeah, that's that. I see these kind of problems because whenever I watch like any good horror film, I see the characters.
Yeah,
Like I can relate to that character. That yes, I want to save that character. Please don't do the yeah,
yeah, yeah, which is great. Yeah, and that's
yeah,
what makes it fun, I think. It's funny that you bring this up because I Stan Winston was the guy who was really insistent about putting me on the movie, and it was because of uh, a movie I made that was not a horror film at all. It was a drama,
yeah,
like a dark drama that took place in the city, and he just liked the acting in it, and he wanted them to get good. He wanted a director that would get good performances, and that was why I got hired. I didn't get hired for Wrong Turn because I could do horror. I got hired because I could direct actors.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
So why didn't you do the sequels?
The- uh, they um they were made for much less than the agreement that we had with uh,
Okay.
the studio, and it
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't worth it to fight with them over it.
yeah. I mean, recently they also they trying to reboot the
Yeah,
franchise. Yeah, yeah. So what was your I mean, I was watching that thing, but it was nothing like the first part. It was
yeah.
nothing like it.
I don't know why. A friend of mine, Bill Sage, is in that. Guy I went to school, undergrad school with, actor, and but I don't know why they did that.
Yeah,
I, I, yeah, I don't know, because it's strange to make something that doesn't. It's such a simple idea to have people
yeah,
lost in the woods and then struggle to get out, and
yeah,
it's what the audience. It might be. There's a thing that I've been thinking about a bit, and it's kind of an interesting distinction. Is There's a documentary on an art movement called "Beautiful Losers." It was like a craft punk rock art movement in New York and LA in the '90s, I want to say. But one
yeah,
of the guys is a tag artist, like a graffiti artist, and
yeah,
and then as he got older, there's a roller coaster. There's a really old amusement park in Coney Island in New York, and there's like an old roller coaster from like the 1920s or something,
yeah,
and it was really run down and everything, and it needed to be repainted, and he repainted it, but he
yeah.
did it like a 1920s roller coaster. He didn't do it in like a crazy, like, look at me, I'm making something crazy. And he said when
Yeah,
he was a younger artist, he wanted people to see that he had done something and have
yeah,
his name on it. And now that he was older, what he wanted to do was make things for people, like make the thing that you would enjoy instead of the thing that would show you that he had made it. And
yeah, yeah,
I think the reboot of Wrong Turn suffers from someone trying to make something different instead of serving the
yeah,
audience.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, I would like to add something that is, I mean, what's gonna happen at the end because people are really experience the first part and
Yeah,
all the movies.
yeah,
So we actually the audience is very much familiar with the tropes.
yeah,
So
yes,
you
yeah,
can't repeat that thing.
yeah. You can't repeat it unless you do it in a way that still satisfies.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, like, you can, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because, like, we do, like, tropes are of value. They allow us to,
Yeah,
like, follow a story. Uh,
yeah,
when you shift from them, you want to shift just a little bit, or you want to shift in a way that makes people, you know,
yeah, yeah.
open their eyes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what are your favorite horror movies in recent years?
Oh boy, I was afraid you were going to ask a question like that, and I was I was thinking about it, and I try really hard to be honest in these. interviews, and I'll tell you that. So I actually thought about this, and the thing is that um, I want to say it maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago. I went through a
Okay.
divorce, and
Okay.
it was the worst, hardest thing in my life. Like I've like done CPR on dying people and had them throw up on me while I was doing CPR on them, and
Okay.
the divorce was worse than that. And
Yeah.
like there's a thing that they say, um, why is divorce so expensive? Because it's
Yeah.
worth it. Um, but it was super painful and super hard. It was not just hard for me; it was hard to watch my kids struggle through it. You know, and I just kind of it was so horrific that I haven't been watching horror for a few years, and I have been watching horror, and I've been thinking about stories about witches. Like I'm really
Yeah.
interested in witches now because of my ex-wife, you know. Uh, so so unfortunately, I can't recommend any new stuff, you know.
Okay. So that was really fun. So I would like to ask, like, I mean, in the 90s or the late 80s, the horror films are pretty much different than the recent years. I mean, what are the differences do you see?
Well, it's you know, there was a period in the 70s where there was very deadpan serious horror, which was, you know,
Yeah.
amazing, right? And there was like at the high end, there were things like The Exorcist and Jaws and
Yeah.
Alien.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the low end, there were like early Wes Craven stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
um, and but then the movies started to make fun of themselves. Like the people that were making them. The problem with a bunch of horror and a bunch of genre stuff is that sometimes the executives, like I've had executives brag to me that they would never go to the movie we were making.
Yeah.
And that's like, why? I mean, I know you're doing it to make money, but why do you think you can make decisions about how to make this while you don't respect it or the audience, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that the movies started to make fun of themselves. Like it was important for the filmmakers to show the audience that they didn't care about what they were doing, or
Yeah.
that they didn't believe what they were doing, and they use the term "wink at the audience" like that, you know. And
Yeah.
it's sort of fun to watch those movies, but it's not that much fun to watch those movies, I think.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
You know, and then around the 2000s, around when Wrong Turn came out,
Yeah.
we were trying to make movies that were sincere, you know, that
Yeah. Yeah.
like what the filmmakers were with the audiences and believed in the story that was happening, you know.
Yeah.
And then that kind of descended into torture porn, which, you know, whatever, it is what it is. It's like
Yeah.
it's terrifying to watch those movies, but they're not at their worst. All they are is it's the same thing as watching, you know, Mexican cartel cut someone up on YouTube, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, which I'm sorry for smiling, I watch that sometimes. So I don't know why I do. I think just so I can feel bad, but you know, but in any case, they descended to that. Like there was a sweet spot where there were some movies that were
Yeah.
sincere, scary, and not winking at the audience. But then it
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of fell apart again. And now there's a new phase of like I think really straight, you know, uh, movies that are fairly sincere, and the filmmakers love them, and the audiences, and they're with the audience. They're not like they're not contemptuous of the audience they're serving. I
Yeah.
think that's happening a bit now again.
Yeah. Yeah. So when Wrong Turn came out and Stephen King really loved that film. So how was your experience? I mean, how was your You know,
Yeah, yeah. You know the thing I said about being terrified that you'll never work again. That was
yeah,
that was about a day when I was like, I will work again because Stephen King, said my film was the best film this year. But it went away after a day. No, I'm joking. But no, that was a really wonderful thing. And actually, a friend of mine, the writer Danny Waters, who wrote Heathers and Batman 2 and Demolition Man and stuff like that, but just a really great, funny guy. He
yeah,
he sent me an email, and the subject line was "The King has spoken," and I opened it, and it was his best of list, and I was like, oh my god, you know, it was a really wonderful, wonderful thing to have happen. And then Stephen uh, signed a couple of properties over for me to adapt, which
yeah,
didn't unfortunately ever get made, but that was like a really that was a really amazing thing to get to do and to get to work on to like see
yeah.
work he had done and try to figure out how to adapt it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a
So
great man in a lot of different ways. He's
yeah,
great.
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
every horror lover, loves him.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. All over the world, you'll see like
yeah,
everything but
yeah.
Superman. Yeah, he's a
So
genius.
that, yeah, totally. I mean, like you have said that horror things, and I'm coming to your another film that is the Alphabet Killer.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, so the thing is, like, you are doing something fictional which is wrong turn, and you are adapting something real issue, a real event. So how do you differentiate them? I mean,
By the way, there's something I wanted to tell you just before we get into the Alphabet
yeah,
Killer,
yeah, yeah,
which is that the only time I think I succeeded in making Stephen King laugh was
yeah,
I was with my ex and my two very young daughters. One of them was 1.5, and one of them was 3, and we
okay,
were touring in India. We were in India, and we
oh,
were in very
yeah,
yeah, and we were in very remote parts of India, and so everyone, not everyone, but like we'd be at a tourist site, and it would be all Indian tourists, and then us, and people would
yeah,
want to be photographed with us, and
okay.
I told Stephen King like, and now I know what your life is like, um, because for a brief moment I was famous and people wanted to take pictures.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, Alphabet Killer. I like that movie. I like that movie quite a bit. It was about real people, so there was real suffering, and
yeah,
I never completely made peace with um, the woman, the investigator who had had a mental breakdown. I met
yeah,
with her, um, and there was a lot of pain. Like there was a lot of
yeah,
real pain. I met with a bunch of cops in Rochester. There was one thing in particular where this old cop who was, I think the term unflappable might fit,
yeah,
and he really wanted to. He was contemptuous is the wrong word, but he wanted to talk to me about what everyone when they get portrayed in films, they're critical of it because we don't tell people's stories accurately all the time. And police in particular, they notice a lot of errors.
yeah,
And and uh, and so he was, and this was like guys from LA coming to make a movie about stuff that he had spent his life doing and whatnot, and he was a little insulting actually.
yeah, yeah,
But I have a lot of compassion for him, and I have a lot of compassion for him because at one point I was asking him. He was a homicide detective, the head of detectives
okay,
in Rochester Police Department, and he retired. And I asked him about looking at bodies, And he said it's just part of the job, you know. You can't do the job without looking at bodies. If someone gets killed, you look at the body. And
Yeah.
I said, well, what about children? And he stopped, and then he said, never look at kids, never look at kids. And he got up and left,
Okay.
like, which was not. He just lost it, you know. He
Yeah.
like it triggered something bad, and it was, you know, and that's the thing about that type of work is
Yeah.
like the movie is it's an interesting movie to watch. It's a fun movie to watch, and I hate to say this, it's made out of other people's pain,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and that gets tricky. And I do true crime stuff too, and that
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and honestly, the way that a thing that I had heard, I was trying to figure out how to justify doing the true crime work, and
Yeah.
what was pointed out to me is that a lot of the place that I've done stuff for is a network called ID Investigation Discovery, the Discovery Network, you know, and they have a rule that three members of the family have to. I think this is the rule. Three members of the family have to agree to be interviewed for them to do a case.
Yeah.
So most of the time, they find a case they want to film, you know, some horrible murder, rape, God knows what, and then
Yeah.
and people say no. Why would you do that? You're monsters, you know. And then every
Yeah.
once in a while, someone's like, you know, no one cares. I want to tell my story. I don't want my sister to be forgotten. Um,
Yeah.
this is my chance for people to see what happened. This thing
Yeah.
changed my life, and that was the thing that made me realize, oh, this is actually serving those people. Like we're the voice for some people that don't get heard otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
which is cool, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I would like to ask, like, what are the new things you wanna add to the horror genre?
um, well, you know, that thing I was saying about like the old guy, the artist when he got old, just wanting to serve his audience. That's kind of all that you know, that's not entirely true because I honestly I am working on a story, and it's a story about kids in a divorce and witchcraft. So and people being bewitched, and you know, so there is stuff I want to. I would rather people didn't suffer as much as they do during divorces, and I'd rather, especially the children, didn't suffer as much as they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and horror is the way that, you know, I couldn't go around and make speeches like that. No one would listen to them, but I can make a horror film with witches in it. You know, and
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I
so
mean, horror itself is a genre. Like I mean, horror itself has those kind of layers. I mean, if you see the superficial layer is horror, but beneath that there is some message, some social issues are there.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, and it's done some really interesting things. Like a thing that always blows my mind, you know,
Yeah.
the United States is a super racist country. Like you know, we came like the money. I don't want to say we because I'm leaving the United States, but
Yeah.
the United States, like the wealth here came from slavery. Like that's just the way it works, you know. And
Yeah.
it's a racist country, and uh, you know, um, the Night of the Living Dead, that movie,
Yeah.
that was the first movie with an African American leading man that isn't about race. Like that's literally the first movie where there's just like, here's the guy, he's the lead character, and he is black. You know,
Yeah.
they don't ever even bring up that he's black. You know, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the first one. It's a horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and actually, I heard an amazing thing about. I love that movie, by the way. But and it's worth seeing, and it still holds up in its way. You know, um, but I was talking to an old guy, and he saw that movie at a drive-in theater in the South, and it was they would on weekends they would play three grindhouse movies, just super cheap horror films.
Yeah.
And Night of the Living Dead was the third movie that played, and it was
Okay.
all Southern rednecks in pickup trucks at the drive-in theater. And
Yeah.
when Night of the Living Dead came on, the whole theater got quiet, and there was a really uncomfortable energy. And about 10 or 15 minutes in, they realized that the main character was a black man, and people
Yeah.
got angry, and people started yelling at the screen and things like that. And half of the trucks drove out, like left. They
Oh,
wouldn't watch it. Uh, but that's a horror film, that like
yeah.
that impacted America. Those people, like, they things were changing.
Yeah, actually, I mean, if you see the recent films like Get Out by Jordan Peele, I mean, these
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
things are the things are changing.
Yep, yeah, which is cool, which is really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and what was I going to say? Yeah, there was an interesting in the. I want to say it was in the Masters of Horror series, the first season. Um, one of the films, man, who did it? John. It's a film where the they're bringing bodies back from, I want to say, Iraq. Uh,
Okay.
bodies of soldiers, and then the soldiers start to rise up from the dead. They're zombies, and the thing that they want is for like there not to be any more soldiers killed, and and it's just awesome. Like when no one else was saying that stuff,
Mm.
like they said it in this weird horror film.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah,
like, what's the new thing we can expect from you? What is the new thing, new films can we expect?
I mean, I hope that I get this script out in the next year. I
Okay.
had a movie this last year and it didn't. It seems like I end up making a movie about every 5 years or so. I mean, the last one I made was it was a TV movie, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um, the I had a movie this last year that I was casting, and I never got a cast that could finance it. Uh,
Okay.
but I hope I get this witch thing to happen. That's the thing that's my
Yeah.
dream, is to get this witch movie off the ground,
Yeah.
to upset my ex. No, I'm joking. To because I think it could be really scary and strange, and it's something I care about. Like it lives in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're an actor, yeah? You act too?
No, I'm not an actor. I also actually make movies, and
Okay, okay. Oh, that's awesome. Well, do you have any questions for me about that, about filmmaking, or
yeah, yeah.
I'm an older version of you, so
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love making movies, and especially if you see like, uh, I'm a huge admirer of Spielberg. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, so I mean, movies like science fiction, horror. I mean, genre movies really attracts me. So yeah, that's the thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It took me a while to love Spielberg, and it took me a while to love Spielberg because I grew up in kind of like a punk rock arty scene,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Spielberg was very mainstream. So,
yeah,
so I was like, I don't like him because everyone else likes him. But then, when I finally started watching his stuff, I was kind of in awe of him because he does everything right.
yeah, yeah,
He does everything right, and he does all these really great gestures, cinematic gestures, and the performance is
yeah,
good, and he casts the right way. He does everything right.
yeah, yeah,
And he made Jaws, which is one of the best
yeah.
films ever made. So
Actually, I mean, I mean, like I was saying, like, you're making movies, so I also make movies and write scripts, so I can pitch you some scripts.
sure, yeah,
Yeah,
I would like that.
yeah. Especially, I mean, like, the genre itself. Do you plan anything like the horror comedy genre?
I have, yeah, I've made stuff like that.
Okay.
And actually my Masters of Horror episode, Right to Die, is a horror comedy. So,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
when you're planning to visit India?
you know, I don't know. I'm going. Yeah, like I'll tell you, I'm going to China. I'm going to teach. I teach filmmaking too.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to China and do some teaching there. So I'll be closer. Uh,
Yeah.
but I don't have a trip scheduled to India. But I know that we want to go back, and I want to I want to my daughters were on the we went on the backwater boat tours in Kerala in the south like
Okay.
years ago when they were very little, and I would love to get to bring them back.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite places on earth. So
Okay.
yeah.
You know, I'm from Calcutta.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Uh, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
whenever you visit India, just let me know. I will just pick you up.
it's a deal. That would be wonderful. I'd
Yeah.
love
Yeah. Yeah.
that.
That
Yeah, no, I would love that. And you have my email and stuff, so you
yeah.
should send me script ideas. Maybe we can.
Sure, sure. I would love to. I would love to. Yeah.
Um, Anything else you want to cover?
Yes, I wanna ask you the last question that I wanna do a live
Okay.
rapid fire session.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing is, describe these people in one word.
Okay.
Okay. Stephen King.
He's amazing.
Okay. Steven Spielberg.
Boy. It's not a great thing, but admirable. Admirable. He's admirable.
Okay. Okay. John Carpenter.
Love him. Like great love.
Okay. Martin Scorsese.
Um, I can't do it in one word. My feelings about him are too complicated. He's brilliant, and he's brilliant, and he's made some of my favorite movies, and he's also made some movies that I hate, and I think he's tired.
Okay. The last one is. Um, let me know. Yeah. Okay. The next rapid fire session is about horror movies. I will mention some horror movies, and you have to uh, you know pick them in ascending order, like which
Oh,
is the great thing and the
best.
best and worst. Yeah,
Okay, best to worst. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so the names are It, which is the recent movie It by Stephen King, Stephen King's adaptation. Uh, Get Out, uh, Us. I don't know if I've watched the movie Us.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and thing is, last thing is the movie Exorcist.
Wait, what's the last one?
Exorcist.
Exorcist. Oh my gosh. Okay. Exorcist. Get Out. Um, it. Exorcist. Get Out. It. Um, Exorcist. Get Out. It. Us. Were there four or five?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Exorcist.
4.
Exorcist is just a stunning, stunning movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I actually love the Exorcist. When the movie came out, I was not even born that time, but I watched it later, and
yeah,
I really enjoyed that movie.
yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. That movie is crazy. Yeah, that movie is crazy. And I mean, that movie that really is. It's all about caring about that priest.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's why it works because you're so like invested in that guy and with his
yeah,
mom and all that. It's so terrifying.
yeah,
It's stunning. Yeah. I feel like it has so many great things in it, and they really wanted to make money, so they had to have a nice ending. And I feel like
yeah,
the ending is too nice, like where it all goes away.
yeah. And the last question would be, I'm gonna ask you the last question. That is, I saw the movies the recent years. There are so much movies, especially on horror. I mean, so the horror subject is pretty much different subject than other genre. So like I say, like if it's comedy, if it's science fiction, if it's cosmic horror, like the genre mashup. If you see the genre mashups are there, like it could be horror comedy, it could be horror thriller, it could be psychological horror or body horror movies.
Hmm.
So what's the new thing that should be on the page that should be added?
Pornhub horror. No, I don't know. I there's a pornography website called Pornhub. It's the most popular porn site. I feel like I'm doing an ad for it, but I said that to be funny, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not funny. Or you know what? My partners watched the last 10 seasons of the Great British Bake Off. Actually, that wouldn't be good though. I was going to say reality cooking horror, but
Yeah,
I guess they made the show Hannibal, right? That's what it is. So,
what are your thoughts about the Conjuring movies?
Conjuring, like with spirits.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, when they are, it's all about fear, right? It's about like making an audience scared, and when a Conjuring movie makes me scared, it's great. And I was
Yeah.
talking to someone the other day about. Did you ever watch Session 9? It's an older movie, Session 9.
Okay.
It scares the bejesus out of me because there's a horrible evil spirit in this place, and so yeah, Conjuring movies can be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, and I really love the session. And what I really want to ask, that is the most important thing, is what are your what would be your tips to the younger generation, to the aspiring filmmakers?
Well, there was a really good thing that John Ford said is uh, sit whenever you can. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know how much time you spent on set, but like you're running all over the place, so
Yeah.
whenever you can is good. And the other thing is, filmmakers make films. So if you want to be a filmmaker, be making films. It's not complicated. You just have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
So, dude, it was a pleasure getting to talk with you. I hope we get to talk more.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to have you here.
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah.
You have a very nice day. I'll have a nice evening.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.